Welcome to Spotlight ETSU. I'm your host, Carrie Oliveira. Today we'll be speaking with Jocelyn Wilson, a fourth-year medical student at Quillen College of Medicine. Jocelyn was awarded the 2011 First Place Award for Poetry by The Legible Script, a literary magazine for medical students. Thank you for joining us, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
You were the first student we've had on the show, which I'm super excited about. And the reason you're the first student we've had on the show is because you are, like, ridiculously awesome. And I'm so excited to be able to talk to you and have you on our show. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. So I always like to start these interviews by having you kind of tell us how it is that you came to be at ETSU.
Yes.
So where are you from and how did you get here?
My father was in the Air Force, so I have traveled quite a bit. I finished my bachelor's degree at Whitworth College, or now University, in Spokane, Washington. My sister is 2 years ahead of me, so she received her bachelor's degree and got a master's in education there. And so when we were transitioning from graduating, we graduated, her with her master's, me with my bachelor's. Yes. She applied to get a doctorate at UT Knox. And so I applied for a master's in public health at UT Knox. And so when I arrived there and was studying, they knew that I had the intention to go to medical school, and I was told that Quillen was the place to go because my interests were in family medicine. Right. And so I applied and became a student here.
Ta-da! Magical. So you have a master's degree in public health as well?
Yes, ma'am.
What is public health?
Public health is the study of systemic health on populations, understanding how to make populations better. Medicine, so often the clinician is dealing with each patient at a time. So public health is looking at communities as a whole,
Gotcha.
States or neighborhoods.
So sort of a sociological approach to studying medicine.
Yes, very much so.
I've asked that question like 800 times to various people. I'm glad I finally understand it now. That's exciting. Okay, so you were Air Force family, moved around a whole lot, and you decided that Tennessee was cool enough to settle in.
It worked out for our family.
It just worked. And so your family does, in fact, still live in Tennessee.
Parents and sister, yeah.
Is your sister also in Knoxville, Oak Ridge
Yeah, she's
area?
finishing her doctorate.
Oh, in
higher education administration.
We have a program like that. Something about educational leadership and policy analysis, I think is what it's called. I'm not totally sure. So you came to Quillen to study family medicine.
Study medicine and then family medicine.
And then family medicine. So, but you're also a poet.
I like to write poetry and read poetry.
How is it that you found yourself enjoying poetry and also thinking to yourself, medicine. How come you didn't want to go into poetry or English or?
So I was raised with a love of poetry. My mom read a lot of poetry out loud. A lot of things. I have many memories of different poems in her voice. So I grew up with that. And also, my mom, when we were very young, would teach us a little bit of French. So I was studying or growing up with the intention of becoming a French teacher. That was the goal. I wanted to teach French. And then when I was a middle schooler, I became sick with an arrhythmia. My heart would beat very rapidly, and I got rather sick. I was treated by a cardiologist here in Knoxville, and I was sent to Vanderbilt Children's for radiofrequency ablation. And so my career in French language died, and I became set on becoming a physician.
Okay, you talk about that like studying French and studying medicine are mutually exclusive, but somehow studying medicine and doing poetry are not mutually exclusive. So how does that happen?
I guess the thought was that I was under the impression that I would take the path to study French language. I didn't, at that age in middle school, I don't know if I was sure if I would teach high school or college, but probably at least a bachelor's and a master's in French. And so by changing my trajectory at that age, I knew that I would study biology and go to medical school. Now, they're not mutually exclusive because I studied French all through college. I think all but 1 year. Junior year, I wasn't able to take any classes. And then when I was getting my master's, I took at least 2 classes at UT Knox.
Are you fluent in French then?
I can communicate. It's difficult. When I was taking more classes, I felt like my writing was I took a writing class at UT Knox, and so I was much better. And I can communicate a lot of things, but I wouldn't dare call myself fluent. I can't do medicine in French. Like, there are lots of things that I can't do with my...
I can't do medicine in English, though, so I don't know if that's saying anything.
So, yeah.
But it says here that you speak French also.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, Spanish.
No, I'm a student of Spanish. I can read. I have a Spanish Bible. I can read Spanish a little bit. I'm nowhere near as good with Spanish as I am with French, but I do like Spanish. Like, I try to read newspaper occasionally. So I had a patient the other day, actually yesterday, who did not speak English at all, and we tried to make meaning, but I was severely impaired.
I love that you just said we tried to make meaning. That's like one of my favorite phrases to say. I teach communication classes.
Yes, I took a communication class in college.
That's the whole thing about how do we converge and how do two people make meaning with each other, and when you don't share a code system, it is a language. So how did you end up making meaning?
Well, he was very nice, and we tried. Like, I have a very basic understanding of Spanish, so I would say things, and I also, we have little pamphlets that they give us. They arm us with a few phrases in Spanish, so I could say things.
That's good.
Yeah, so you know, le duele aquí, like it hurts you here, or I would say, the physician ended up being caught up in the ICU, so he didn't end up coming, so it was kind of like we had to reschedule the appointment. So like today is, you know, it's lundi, mardi, mercredi, and it's miércoles is Wednesdays.
Yes.
So it's Monday, and we were trying to think, okay, next Monday, like,
Lunes.
Lunes.
I don't know how to say next.
The semana in a week. And so and again, I like the word making meaning because it's important to say that.
Yes.
So we tried to make meaning. So he explained to me a little bit about his symptoms, and we talked about what medications he'd tried, and, you know, so before eating, antes comer, like it hurts before I eat, no. And so we tried to make meaning, but I have difficulties with Spanish, but I can read it, certain things, so I try.
I think it's really interesting that, like, I would expect that both your multilingual interest, even if not fluency, plus the fact that you write creatively, I think all suggest that you have a particular, like, inclination towards trying to figure out multiple ways to make meaning with a human being. It's like understanding a human experience kind of a thing, right?
I would agree.
I imagine would make you a fantastic physician in the end.
That is my hope.
Well, because one of the things that we do partly in our department is that we sometimes send our faculty out to do workshops or whatever else with either the public health people or the Quillen people. And one of the things that we find is that there's not a lot of communication education when you're training physicians, which is fascinating to me because your entire practice then is based on, can I acquire information enough from you, the patient, to be able to understand what's wrong and then diagnose correctly?
I think that there's something very strange about the idea of being educated to the point of excluding you or alienating you from the very population you were trying to work with. But I think Quillen is an excellent medical school in the sense that we have a very good communication course. It's interdisciplinary. There are nursing students, pharmacy students, and I think some physical therapy students, but there wasn't a physical therapy student in my small group. And you work on communication. Dr. Lang is almost an institution with medical communications. So yes, I think as a discipline, we are very aware of our reputed failings in communication, and we are aware that communication matters. And so I think there are dual initiatives: the ability to communicate well with other clinicians, to talk doctor talk, you know, to talk shop and have that that kind of communication, but also the ability to communicate with who you are trying to serve. And so the search for a lingua franca is kind of almost not there at all yet. I think that we try to, the reason for the precision in language is necessary for the practice of medicine. But the good clinician knows how to talk to your patient.
Code switching, we call that in communication.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that term. I'm not sure. But the idea of taking what you know and being able to communicate with your patient is essential. And I think that you know a good physician by their ability to not only treat or intervene or prescribe, but I feel like we spoke and we made meaning. So I think that we as physicians in training are aware of that, and we know how valuable it is.
And I know that the most satisfying experiences I've ever had with physicians have been the ones that spoke to me like human beings. You know, and I'm smart enough, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, if you give me medical terminology, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions or whatever else. But for example, my gynecologist, sorry for the awkwardness, the use of the word gynecologist.
Not awkward.
But I went in there and he was talking to me about nonsense, like just like nonsense, like a human conversation, but at the same time he's describing to me in very accurate medical terms what all he was looking at and what he was treating me for and whatever else. And so what I really appreciated about him was his ability to talk to me about me, my human experience, and then make the medical information digestible and relevant. And I think that a lot of people have a problem with accessing information from their physicians.
Yes.
And I think that it's partly because, in my experience anyway, with medical students or physicians in general, is that you guys are very science, right? I want to understand the science of practicing medicine. And I don't know how many of you actually actively think about or value the business that medicine is about human beings, which I find kind of fascinating. Am I wrong in that impression? I mean, I've met a handful of medical students, while I've been here or whatever else. And so I do kind of feel like the human element comes after the science element.
I think what I will say is that the training is very demanding. I think considering how much information you are trying to obtain, it's the ability to excel is hinged on your intellectual capacity.
Yes.
So your ability to supersede understanding with finesse is really a gift.
Yes.
The attendings that are amazing communicators, like, you're a genius. How did you learn all this pathophysiology? And you're also so good. That's how you find mentors.
Can you train in that? I mean, is that something that, I mean, really, like the ability to like connect with a person, have an intuitive sense?
It is incorporated into the training. Like I said, we have communication courses, you have mentors, and you watch people and you get feedback. You get lots of feedback. We videotape patient encounters with standardized patients, where you go in and you're saying, okay, simple things, did you have an icebreaker? Did you see them? Did you see the patient? Did you interrupt them? How did you wait for them to speak? Did you have open-ended questions? So it is ingrained in the training, but the problem is which I don't want to say it's inherent in the training. The training does make you very focused. It makes you what Dr. Blackwelder would say is that you become more and more focused as you go along. Like, the less I understand of pathophysiology, the more I'm really just going to listen. In theory, or it's possible that you will just listen to the patient because you really want to hear them. But the sooner you're like, okay, I'm thinking, okay, they might have COPD, or they might have asthma, or they might have an infection.
You start with the diagnosis right away.
Your brain starts working, and we can only do so much at one time, and so you can't listen. So I think the training, the pursuit of a diagnosis, or I want to find out what's wrong with you, can turn off your listening ear, but we are still trained that the patient history is the most important thing, the ability to actually hear the patient's story. So we do learn that.
Yes.
we learn
that the execution is more challenging. I mean, you understand it in theory, I'm sure.
And the execution is based on your ability and time constraints. Sometimes you see so many patients in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So we are trained to do so. We strive. Dr. Quaz says we presuppose competence. We presuppose that you are competent in pathophysiology and the way disease works and the way they present themselves. And then beyond that, you have an ability to see your patient and to treat them, not to treat their disease.
Right, treat a person.
Yeah.
As opposed to an illness. I dig that. And listening is hard anyway.
It's true.
It's like even when you're not trying to diagnose anything. And so I think it's really interesting, at least, that they're sort of motivating you to be attentive to that, even though it's not the easiest cognitive skill on the face of the planet. But again, your business of capturing the human experience in poetry is like fascinating. Tell me about the Legible Script Award.
Okay, we received numerous emails about opportunities to write, to get involved, to volunteer, to engage, and also to do research. So we get lots of emails about poetry contests or essay contests, and in the context of study, I was able to write poetry more rapidly than I was to write essays. So I thought, I'll write a poem for this poetry contest.
Poems are shorter.
Yeah, they're shorter. And in addition to that, in the case of the first cut, I had actually written this poem beforehand. I saw this poetry contest for the Legible Script, and I thought, I wrote a poem first year. So I took anatomy, and at the end of our anatomy course is we utilize body donors. So we, at the end of the anatomy course, we have this memorial service where we commemorate, exactly.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that makes me really happy.
You commemorate the sacrifice that the families or the person and the person made to say, yes, I want medical students to learn with my body, and it's an amazing gift to give. And so we take a moment to say, yes, we appreciate that this is a human being. This is their body, and we hold our bodies very sacred.
Yeah.
And even if you're having surgery and you're living, it's your body, and the ability to learn and you need to take the moment to say, this is someone's body who had loved ones and had aspirations and had a life. And so we were encouraged to sing or to share words. And so I wrote the first cut to kind of put into words what I thought about working on someone's body. This is either someone's father, brother, aunt, son. So I just took a minute or two.
Will you read it to us?
Yeah, yes, I will.
I would love to hear it from you.
Would you like right now?
Yes, right now.
Okay.
I'm so excited. I read it and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay. This is called The First Cut. Contemplating the first cut, there was a dissonance. The peeling back of skin, the violent intrusion into what was once held sacred, would be an action attributed to me. The irreverent juxtaposition of living, viable, capable, alongside the dead, absent, and fundamentally hollow. I can still remember the moment of the first cut. I took a deep breath and prayed, God forgive me. Although I did not feel a trespass, I was not sure if I could. Amidst the frenzy and the fervor and the expectation, focus was imbued with distraction. Focus on skin, muscles, scalpel, distraction whispering in the background, stood and remained saying, who, why, how. I find it odd that I would question the process by which a person could make decisions in life that bring forth greater illumination in death. This is not foreign to me. As I ever return my thoughts to the first cut, I am thankful for the sacrifice. I am thankful for the knowledge. As focus becomes distraction and distraction focus, corpses, cadavers, bodies once bereft, now fraught, whispers now scream, and wisdom mixed with reverence remains.
That's lovely. It is, well, and the reason I think that poem, and I only have an excerpt here from it, and even just the teeny tiny part of it that I read before hearing the entire thing, it moved me because I intend to donate my body to a medical college because, really, I don't need it.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
I can't take it with me. I can't take nothing with me, and I can do two things, right? I can let it wither into nothingness and be wasted, or I can let you strip bone from muscle and see my nerves and whatever else. And so, I appreciate that a medical student, my dad and I had this conversation one time. And he was like, when I told him I was thinking about donating my body to science, and he was like, don't. And I said, why? And he goes, because they treat the bodies like crap or whatever else.
That is not allowed at Quillen. Anatomy is the first class you take, and it's the introduction to, I'm a medical student. And I remember very clearly Dr. Quasagro, these are people's bodies. Right. And you are not allowed to make jokes. You are not allowed to be irreverent in any manner. That is not allowed in our anatomy lab. So you know that. I think, that's unacceptable. And I don't know, I can't compare my experience, to other places, but that is not allowed at our school. And one of the many things to be proud of going to this College of Medicine is that that's not allowed. And you sit there knowing that this is someone's body, and they chose to make this sacrifice. And so, so I can't speak for everywhere, but if you donate your body to the Quillen College of Medicine, that will not happen.
Can I donate my body specifically to Quillen?
I think so. I am.
Yes. That's so exciting.
I think obviously it's your choice, so yes.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so I hope my dad is going to be very fine. But it's really easy. When you think about biology classes in high school, you have this poor little frog or whatever else is sitting in a jar of formaldehyde, and you pick him out with a tweezers or whatever, and you just go to town on the poor thing, or eyeballs or whatever else we dissect in high school. And there's really no
fetal pigs.
Yes, fetal pigs, and we didn't have to do that in our school. But there's this very decisive this is just a creature that I'm just cutting open for the exercise of figuring out what's inside or whatever else, and to imagine that a human body would be treated similar to the way a high school biology student treats a frog.
No.
It's sort of a grotesque idea.
It's considered your first patient.
Oh.
And that's a good, again, going back to the phrase of making meaning, that's a good metaphor. It's
Yes.
a good way to think of it. This is your first patient. Come with that reverence. Come with that sense.
The honor of the person.
Yes.
That you're,
this is your
you're not
first
treating them necessarily, but you're learning from them, which is the thing you do with all your patients.
Yes, you were learning, and this is your first patient.
Oh, that is such a good philosophy. And I hope that is the case across the country. I can
I
only
hope so,
hope that it
too.
is. But it's nice to know that here, that certainly is the other thing that we're doing. You're co-authoring a book right now? Okay, so let's recap what we've learned so far. You speak French, functionally. You can get by in Spanish. You can make meaning at least.
I try.
In Spanish.
I try.
You write poems.
Yes.
You are a medical student. And you're writing a book.
I actually,
What?
yeah, so at the time of that question and answer, I was working on a book with my mom. I still am.
What does your mother do, by the way? She's fascinating.
She is. My mother is a wonderful woman, and she is very fascinating. She does not work outside the home. She lives in Oak Ridge with my father. She's a poet, and she has worked with so many different areas, like scholarship banquets and different things like that. So she is fascinating. My mom's really cool. So I grow in my wisdom and understanding and becoming like her. So we are writing a book, and in addition, I finished a book about medical school. So I finished that one.
What?
Yeah, I'm working with a publisher about that one. So hopefully I'll have some time to work on that. So yeah, my mother and I are writing a book about spiritual gifts. It's fiction, but it's about spiritual gifts. It's kind of sci-fi-ish, but we're working on it, and we're hoping to get my sister wrangled into it and help her so that we're all three writing it. And so hopefully you'll hear.
So it's fiction.
Yes.
Sort of sci-fi.
Yeah.
With a spiritual
Yes.
bent to it.
It's true.
Written by a medical student and a poet, etc.
Exactly.
And hopefully your sister, who is getting a doctorate in higher ed administration.
Exactly. Sounds fascinating, doesn't it?
How did your family come to be? I want to have dinner with you guys.
Oh, we would love it if you.
So interesting.
Yeah,
that's
we
a lot
try.
of diversity in your family.
We try. I think that there is a reverence and an appreciation for the arts in our family. So
Clearly.
everyone's a reader. When I had time, when I was getting my master's degree, I would try to read a book that my father suggested, then read a book that my mother suggested, then read a book that my sister was. I was trying to get a rhythm going, but I'm behind. I'm still reading the book my sister suggested, the last one. So.
Which was what, if you don't mind
It was
asking?
The Metaphysical Club. It's a fascinating book about the history of ideas in America. So it's a fascinating book. I don't remember how she ran across, either in getting her master's degree or maybe her graduate coursework and her doctorate, but I feel like I started a long time ago. So for example,
I imagine medical school has sort of gotten in the way of pleasure reading.
It tried, but I hold fast. I read. Other people, make their choices. I've made mine. I think that, so the book is one of the original Supreme Court justices. So it was talking about his life and the things that shaped his ideas as a young man and how he made court decisions. So think about the founders of this country and the founders of law.
Yes.
So when he was in war and when he lost siblings or loved ones, how did that make him value human life and when he made his decisions? So I'm not finished with it yet, and I haven't read it in quite a while. So but it's a fascinating book about how ideas are shaped. And if you go on to become a Supreme Court justice,
right.
how did your life experience?
Everything will influence the way I go about
how you make decisions and how we decide what is important or what our laws are. So I think it's a great book. Everyone.
And it's so funny. I was just thinking about I don't know why. I don't know if I was thinking about presidential debates or whatever else. I was certainly thinking about how legislation comes into being and what its social function is, which necessarily comes from what we value, which comes from what we spend time thinking about.
It's
right?
true.
So,
it's true.
So interesting. And I think to a certain extent, human beings are all sort of, what our minds choose to wrap around is influenced by what we value, and then sort of in a circular fashion.
True.
Oh my gosh, what is the name of this book?
The Metaphysical Club.
The Metaphysical Club. I am already super interested in that. You have another poem, perhaps?
I have two more, whenever you're ready.
Two? How about, we have a few more minutes, so I'd like to hear one more of your other poems. Pick one and tell me about it and then read it to us.
Okay, let me see.
I know, I'm sorry. Is this weird to like have you decide which of your pieces of art
Yeah,
is...
it's like I don't have, I'm unwed and I have no children. And so like, it's like, which one am I going to read?
What do you have? What are our options?
These are the two choices. I'll talk about both of them, and then you can pick.
Okay.
So the first one is called The Mountains of East Tennessee. It's from...
I kind of like that one already.
Yeah, so it's gorgeous here. If the mountains, and driving around, you just see them, especially when they change colors. So I just wrote a poem about just seeing them and wanting to experience the mountains. And the other poem is called Consubstantiation, and it's about the Eucharist. It's about...
I was like, I know that word. I grew up Catholic.
The Eucharist is communion,
Yep.
the body and the blood of Christ, and taking it and what it means, and again, trying to wrap your mind around it. So they're not very long, so it's up to you. Do you want to hear one of them?
I went for a drive with my sister yesterday to look at the leaves. So why don't you read to me first The Mountains of East Tennessee?
Okay. It's called The Mountains of East Tennessee. I am in love with the mountains of East Tennessee. Out of fear and out of time, I keep them at a distance. Quixotically, though, I muse about experiencing them, touching the browns and greens. Aerial visions from far away seem to be the only way to experience it all, the vastness, the mystery. In waking dreams, I am on horseback or on foot, beginning a crisp, almost cold morning. What secrets hide there? What hymns? What long-forgotten narratives? Now, here passing, there are smiles, maladies, and expectations. Reality, though, cannot attenuate my love.
Amen. I'm just going to give that one an amen. No, exactly. Like, how do you not feel them?
Yeah.
You know, and like we were talking before we started filming about how I spent time in Michigan and Ohio, and depending on where in Ohio, there are no mountains. Right? So the closer you get in Ohio to Michigan, the flatter the landscape becomes. And so coming down here, my favorite thing was I had friends living in Virginia, so I would drive from Michigan through Ohio. And as soon as Ohio would start to become West Virginia, like the mountains come up out of the earth, and you're like,
it's beautiful.
Hey, hi, how are you doing? I regularly greet Tennessee.
Exactly.
Like as I'm driving,
like, oh,
I'm like,
so
hey,
gorgeous.
Tennessee, you're beautiful, and the leaves, and you're great, and I hate the cold, and that part sucks, but the leaves and the mountains and everything is just beautiful. And so what I find interesting about you is that you just seem to appreciate everything.
I try.
About like your experience on this planet. And in a society where I feel like most people take most things for granted, I think that, my friend, is a remarkable quality, on top of you're incredibly bright, clearly, and so articulate. And I don't think I ever met a person who was like so wholly appreciative of their experience on the planet. It's like, you will inspire me for the rest of the day at least. I can promise you that. So you have a little bit of time. I am fascinated to hear this poem, so if you can...
I'll be really quick.
Read that one
this
to
last
us, that'd
one.
be great.
Consubstantiation. On the same night Jesus took his disciples, I've often pondered the divine mystery of this sacrament, the past mingled with the present, the incarnate poured out into bread and draught, the body of Christ broken for you. I close my eyes to see and to not see the sacrifice, the cross, and Calvary, brokenness as the payment, propitiation, the harbinger of redemption. Grasping texture in my hand, I offer up repentance, the blood of Christ spilt for you. I know more and less now that life is in the blood. It drips down hand, feet, head, and stains the tree. Of infinite value, unvalued, transmuted, I encircle it with the opposite hand, proclaiming his death until he comes. Do this in remembrance of me. Lovely.
You really are so very eloquent. And I imagine growing up with a poet, there's sort of no way to avoid that.
It's true.
Really, I'm also, by the way, impressed with your vocabulary. I think you should offer your tutoring services for the GRE. Like, in all seriousness. Like, I do think people need that. Your vocabulary is astounding.
Oh, I read, so, and yeah.
You're a fascinating human being. It has been so wonderful getting to know you. I think that you have been exactly the right choice for a first student guest on this show. You set a very high bar, my friend. And so, like, I've delighted in you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Jocelyn. We've been speaking with Jocelyn Wilson about her award-winning poetry and experiences in medical school that have inspired her to write it. Join us next time on Spotlight ETSU. Yay.